Welcome to the October 18th rendition of Portsmouth This Week. I'm Jeff Richard. I'm filling in as a host this week. And the reason for that is something that I'd like to stop and talk about right now. We lost a fine American this past week in Esmond Doug Smith, who was your host here for over 250 programs, completely dedicated to the success of Portsmouth This Week. And he will be missed. If you are reading the Portsmouth Times this week, Doug made the front page, and there's a wonderful article Tim McGraw put together about Doug's life here in Portsmouth, and he will be sorely missed. Now, the object of the game today is to talk about emergency preparedness, and I know that sometimes it's kind of easy to put that stuff in the backyard, but I bumped into a friend of mine the other day, and we lost power on the island here. Tree went down, cut the power lines, and I said, well, how many flashlights did you have? And she said, I had one. I couldn't find it. So it's a relevant topic, and today I have Portsmouth's Emergency Management Director, Ray Perry. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Thank you.
And what we hope to do in the next few minutes is to sort of prepare everybody for what invariably is going to come our way. And let's start off by saying, what exactly are you doing in your office these days? What is the Emergency Director doing?
Sure. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. The timing is perfect for this because we're actually moving into a phase where we're really going to be concentrating on bringing in volunteers and kind of move towards what we call that whole community type of a response effort, capability, preparedness. When something big happens, our local response services, we're limited. Our fire department, police department, I can only do so much. And we know through studies and stuff that, the community comes together when a disaster happens. And in fact, one of the statistics is if you have like a big hurricane or something like that, something significant, most of the rescues are actually done and help that's actually done is done by neighbors, by the community coming together. Immediately after the response, they come together and they fill the gap that, the fire department, they're out there, going 100 miles an hour and doing whatever they can. But there's going to be a lot more help that's needed usually just after a big event like a hurricane. And that gap is usually filled by the local population. But then that extends out and you get more and more volunteers as you go into the more extended response efforts and to the recovery efforts. So I'd like to bring you up to speed on where we've gone from the last year, where we come from. I was here last January, and then where we're going. We're really starting out a new phase of community preparedness right now. But before that even, I would like to extend my condolences to the passing of Doug Smith and to his family. He was a volunteer. He did a lot for the community. I'm an ex-service member. If you look at his career, he served the nation extraordinarily well. As an intel officer and stuff in the Navy. But when he retired, he came in and he actually did a lot of volunteer work for the emergency management aspect here in Portsmouth. We have a public information team that some of you guys are on here that work on the staff on the radio show here. And what that does, and they were very instrumental, I guess, during Sandy, but it's a volunteer group. They're sending information out and gathering information from the public, sending information to all the social media outlets, gathering information from them, actually moving that into the emergency response system, not only here locally, but Doug was part of doing that and actually sending information up to the state EMA, which they needed critically to assess the damage that happened after Sandy. And that damage assessment is critical to us because that determines what actions we need to take and what resources we need to bring in.
You have a volunteer coordinator that's on staff, as it were, helping out these?
We're doing that right now. Now, we coordinate with Newport and Middletown. Red Cross is a big part of that. We have a lady by the name of Carmela. She works for the Red Cross. I'm sure many of you have heard her name before. She runs the Red Cross shelter for us here on the island, and she also helps us with a lot of the volunteers. But we're also putting an effort forward where we recognize that it's not just volunteering pre-event. As a manager of volunteers, what happens after an event, a big event, volunteers come out of the woodwork. And we want them to, but we have to have a system in place to actually do that. And,
I did a little background checking in our website in the town, and it did have a ton of information on it. In respect to what kind of volunteers that you're looking for. what skill sets do you need, and how many of those people do you want?
Yeah.
Do you have answers to those?
Yeah, we're actually, what we're doing right now is actually on November 9th at Gaudet School, at the middle school, we're having a preparedness fair, but a big focus of that is actually on bringing volunteers in. So you're going to go to the fair. It's from 9 to noon at Gaudet School. It involves Middletown, Newport, and Portsmouth. And we're going to have not only preparedness stuff, but all the different opportunities for volunteers. And we want volunteers of really all types. There is something to do for everybody in the community, and something for somebody to, even depending on how much you want to invest in that volunteer effort. If you want to work from home, there are things that you can do that help us and increase our preparedness. If you want to become part of a specific team that we're trying to put together, you can do that, and we'll provide you the training for that too. Not just local training. We can actually send you down to the, if you want to go this far in it, we can send you down to the National Emergency Training Center in Emmitsburg, Maryland, which FEMA runs, and they give free courses down there. So if you're part of our volunteer group and you're going to be doing a specific function for us, whether you're on our incident management team or going out in the field, maybe helping with damage assessment or working at a Red Cross shelter. One of the things that I have a person right now, and she's running what we're establishing is called a volunteer reception center. So what happens is, after something happens and people want to volunteer, this center is actually set up to actually manage those volunteers and place them in places that we actually need them during the response.
Where is this going to be located?
We haven't determined that yet.
It's not the command center, though?
No, it will not be in the command center. It'll be separate from that, yeah, separate from the EOC. But she's building that program right now, and it's an established program. We know what we need to do to actually do that. It's kind of like an HR department, but they also go out and they'll collect information in advance of what volunteer capabilities there are out there. We have, for instance, some of the communities right now are already doing a lot in that. Common Fence Point has an emergency preparedness committee that they've established. They've been going for probably about 6-7 months now, and they're actually collecting data with all the members within their community. So there are 600-700 houses in Common Fence Point, and so who are the nurses, who are the doctors, who are the engineers, and all that, and so we're going to have that information available to us, so that if something happens and I need to reach back and say, hey, I need a photographer or something like that to help us with damage assessment and document,
of course,
we can do that.
Who the real movers and shakers were for that Common Fence Point organization. You know those people, I suppose.
Yes, I go to the meetings and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So those are the ones you're going to put right at the top of your own volunteer list, I suppose.
Yes, yep, and they're already part of it. It's
I read something in my research about how many people you needed in the command center when an emergency happens. If we have a very, very bad snowstorm,
right.
If you can tie this into the volunteer side of it, we see the weather reports coming in, and all of a sudden you say, hey, I got to get to work here.
Right.
So walk me through in what volunteers are going to do from your first decision to say, okay, I'm getting ready now.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Well, we're building certain components right now, but see, there's no one finite number there, okay? What we're doing is we're building a system that allows for what we call a tiered response. Okay, you build your organization, and that includes the volunteers, based on the needs of the event. Okay, so you're talking about a snowstorm. A snowstorm, I would probably not even stand up a command post. I would stand up what we call our Emergency Operations Center, which is up at the fire department. And within that Emergency Operations Center, we would have our public information team. Okay, now if we're going to run them 24 hours on that, you probably want 2 people on that team. So you probably need 4 or 6 people on that team just to probably run that for as long as we need it for a snowstorm. Snowstorm usually doesn't last that long. It's not going for weeks. So I'm planning also for events that are going to last for weeks, the big hurricane type of a thing. So we would run that. We'd have a communications unit, which we have a communications team already. Need probably at minimum about 10 people for that to actually keep that going.
10 people?
Yes. Rich Talipsky here, he kind of helps manage what we call a medical pod. So if we have the pandemic and we have to inoculate everybody, that needs about 60 volunteers. And actually, believe it or not, he has a lot of those people already lined up.
So in terms of where we are, we're really in the planning stage. I mean, you haven't come to the point where you decided exactly when your timeline is going to say, I'm done with this now. I've got the team in place.
It will never, that will never
That's good.
happen.
It's
It
all
is a
gonna change.
constant
Okay.
bringing in new people and trying to build. How it works is I prioritize. I have a plan in place where I prioritize what volunteers I need here locally, okay? The system that we will use is a national system. I have to align with that. And the reason for that is because if I know if I have we talk about snowstorms, we can manage snowstorms. They take a little bit of an effort, but we can do that here locally. When we get into the hurricane type of an event, okay, we're going to be damaged. Okay, even if I have a bunch of volunteers, even if my fire department or police department, they're probably going to be damaged. They're not going to be at full capacity. And we're going to have to bring in resources from another area. And resources is both not only equipment, it's expertise, knowledge, it's also management team members, okay?
Now, was it Sandy that took out the power on the island for a couple of years back? The major hurricane came through here and
Yeah.
took everybody's power away from them, in some cases, for weeks.
Right, so...
You got to prepare to do that, and you keep that emergency command center manned during that entire
Yes, we would, yes,
hurricane problem.
And we have National Grid come in. As of now, National Grid is actually part of our command
Yeah, I
post
thought I
here,
read that,
but
yeah.
they service island-wide, well, county-wide. We're actually working with Newport. We're building a bigger command post because, again, the amount of people that you need, you have to bring in expertise from outside the area. Okay, there's a national response system that we have, and so I'm training people, for instance, that I need local knowledge on, but there are other functions that once it gets so big, I will bring in those people from another area.
So an island-wide command post, where would that be located?
We are actually, Newport Fire Department is taking the lead in this. We plan for this. We have a meeting once a month, and we're looking at Innovate Newport is pretty much where we've decided we're going to have it. So they're actually looking at wiring the place and things like that. Now, the reason why we did that was, and that was an initiative that we actually started here in Portsmouth after the National Grid incident, because it's all about the numbers. You ask me how many people do I need. It depends on the type of the incident. So I have to prioritize what I need to train volunteers in.
You never
what
thought about
position.
using the state police barracks?
We did. That's not going to. I would love to have that for Portsmouth, but they're not going to give that up. So we've already talked to them about it. I guess there's a lot of asbestos in there too. Is
Yeah,
what
well,
I was told, so, yeah.
that's easily,
And that's actually,
taken
that
care of,
space is
though.
actually a little bit small.
really?
Yes, for a command post. And
No, I've only been in it once, and it was
Yeah.
an in and out. So.
Yeah. When we go into a hurricane type of event, we're probably going to need, just in the command post, never mind the people out in the field, you're probably going to have about 150 to 200 people in the command post
my goodness.
performing
Yeah.
all of the functions that have been standardized nationally under what we call the NIMS, the National
And
Incident
they have to
Management.
sleep, they have to eat, they have to do all the things that all of us
Yeah,
do
we'll
all the
put 'em on.
time.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That would take a heck of a facility, wouldn't it?
And management of it too. So if you think about, the logistics, the finance piece and all that sort of part. But we have a system in place. We know how to do that, and that's where we're moving towards implementing it right now. And where we're at right now is to make this happen, you have to bring the whole community together. In the first year that I've been here, and I just want to bring you together, is we've been working towards that. I think we've got a lot of our senior officials on board and the senior leadership to say, this is how we're going to start. These are the principles of how we're supposed to be managing so that we can move to this tiered and actually manage a large event. We've also did a huge workshop on resiliency and stuff. So,
So
that
the
was a
town
big
manager,
part.
Rich Rayner, is all on board with this, and you,
Not only that, yes, and the town council. On August 13th, we had a motion. There were about 8 different provisions in that specifically outlined how we should be preparing for and managing emergency response into what we call the disaster phase, okay? We're also thinking about the snowstorm. We can manage a snowstorm here locally. It's a pain in the neck, it's hard, it's going to take a bit of resources, but we also have to plan beyond that, the hurricane, where we know our mutual aid agreements aren't going to come into play. Okay, Tiverton isn't going to help us out in a hurricane because they're going to be maxed out there. So we have a system in place. So we have these principles called the whole of government type of a planning process, a holistic planning process. We've adopted what we call the incident command system, which is mandated nationally, but it's not used as much locally. But we're going to do it, and the reason for that is so that we can I can bring in people and from the other parts of the country, and they understand this system. So I can say, I need a logistics section chief. They're trained to do that. They can come here and do it, okay? My local people, I want local people to be damage assessment people because they know the area. So that's the type of thing that I'm doing. So I'm pulling
where
volunteers
is your
in.
office? Where do you hang your hat?
I'm in town hall.
In actual office?
Yes, yep, I sit right
Not
in
a lot
the
of
finance.
space in there, right next to Rich, maybe?
No, I'm right across the hall, which is actually key to it. It's I'm in the finance department, but I've got a nice corner in there, and
Okay.
and it's critical. That's where the emergency manager should be in town hall, because my responsibility is not to manage the fire department, the police department, public works. They know what to do.
Power
okay?
goes out, the town hall has power?
We have a generator, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So my job is to bring the whole of the community together, because that's what you're going to need in response. So the town council is going to have to be working at all the town department heads, the private sector, the publics, the volunteers, all that. So that's what I come and I pull that together for a response that goes beyond what the local normal thing is. So.
Before we get through it, I got to make sure that I do this information for everybody. There's a lot of information that can be gleaned about this from our website. However, in emergencies, where do you get information? You get it from your office, or is there? For instance, I was made aware that the W80K and WSAR are the two local radio stations that have emergency generators and are designated as emergency sources. So if you are a family, what do you need to listen to those guys?
You should get a weather radio.
A radio with batteries.
Yeah, a radio with batteries.
Yep.
And you know, there is so much out there on preparedness, okay? On personal and family preparedness, and also on business preparedness. You know, you go to any of the government agencies that have anything to do with that, they will have a section on preparedness, whether it's Red Cross, FEMA, Department
How
of
do you
Agriculture.
get somebody interested in getting that information? I mean, you've got to have a really good publicity handle here to get the word out to everybody who
Yeah.
basically now we're not very terribly interested in any future storm, and the hurricane season is practically over. How do you get our attention?
You know,
To train, to get volunteers.
Portsmouth attention, I got to tell you, and I think we're missing this here. You need somebody to organize, okay, and plan, and embrace the volunteers and bring them in. Now, family preparedness and stuff like that, that's a constant, ongoing, educational type of a thing. There are so many websites out there that are always constantly promoting that. We got brochures out. We put stuff on our website. Unfortunately, most people don't prepare until they've experienced a disaster, and it's too late. And Rhode Island is one of the top 5 most vulnerable states in the country.
Because of?
Because we have not experienced a disaster, okay?
Hurricane Bob in 1991, I think, was the last really major whack we took, though.
And we've never had a direct hit of a hurricane, okay? And we've never had a hurricane even indirectly hit us above a Category 3. You know, even the 38 hurricane, that hit New York. Okay, we get the excerpts of that, and we could be hit by, you know, we could be hit by
absent the
Category
experience,
4.
you think that well, that just makes the educational problem all that greater, doesn't it?
It's constantly, but there is a plethora of information out there. FEMA-ready.gov, FEMA has done a fantastic job. The Centers for Disease Control, the Department of Agriculture, Red Cross. You go on any of their website, and I can spend a lot of time reduplicating that stuff, but it is there, and so we just got to get the public, go to those sites and look at those things and take it for action, basically. So we're going to be promoting that. But one of the things I want to really make clear here is we're moving into right now. I am starting with this fair on November 9th at Gaudet School. I am really pushing forward to really build that volunteer group here in Rhode Island. And why haven't I done it the first part? Because again, I had to get the senior leadership on board and all that sort of stuff. But the other part of it too is I bring on volunteers. I want to have an organization, a process for them, a training program for them understand what their jobs are going to be, because and train them for that. And we have that now. And so we're actually starting that out after November 9th. The weekend after that, we're actually going to have a big training session. And if you're going to volunteer, again, I can take somebody who can work from their home and actually just provide me technical advice, or work on some computer programs, or collect data for me and do stuff like that. Or I can people that's actually part of our incident management team, which will be in the command post and performing certain functions that they're trained in.
Are they going to have you got position descriptions?
We're going to, yes, we do. And we're going to be, some of the things that I'm looking for right now, just think I want more people on a communications team. I want people in our public information, so if you're good with social media and stuff, we're trying to ramp up that. We're building this volunteer reception center, and that volunteer reception center is going to be run by volunteers. All right, so we want people doing that. I want people on our damage assessment team, construction people, engineer type people that can actually help. The person who's leading that is Gareth Ames. He's our building inspector. So I'm getting people with expertise in those areas and then building other people to actually do that. We talked about our medical assist team that Rich Talipsky works if we have a pandemic. If you want to work actually in the incident management team within the command post and you're good on computers or tracking resources and stuff like that, you can be actually part of on our incident management team that will actually be in the command post when we have to track resources that are coming in, not only our resources, but people that are coming in to work within our area.
Are you restricting your search for these volunteers strictly to Portsmouth, or is this an
No, in fact,
island-wide?
a lot of my volunteers are not, some of my volunteers are not from Portsmouth. They like the program that we have so far.
How do you sell that to somebody that's not a Portsmouth resident? As because it's a team sport and and it's interesting and you learn?
I think it goes back. I actually teach emergency management. I do a whole section on volunteers on the national level, local level. And why do people volunteer, right? They want to do something. They want community service. They want training. They want to learn something new. They want a good organizational structure, though, too. They want to be supported. And so that's what I've been working on over the past year, and that's what we're launching right now, where we're going to bring people in. If you sign up for our volunteer program right now, I'm on November 15th and Saturday, which is a Friday, and on Saturday the 16th of November, so that's 1 week after the volunteer fair, we're actually going to be doing 4 hours of trainings on Friday night and 7 hours of training on Saturday. And that is all my volunteers that I have now and any I can get between now and then. They're going to learn about how our system actually works, okay? And how they can probably fit in all the opportunities for them. And they're also going to get the initial incident management training.
Okay. Have you got an email address group that you've established now that you can pump information out and say, okay, we're meeting to do this, that, and the other thing?
Yes, I do have a bunch of volunteers and potential volunteers that I'm feeding that to right now. When we have these events, like we have the fire department's open house on Sunday, so I'll be collecting names if you go to that. If anybody wants to know about you, you can get your name on the list if you just want to find out what's available. You don't have to commit right away. Find out what works for you, what we're doing, what the different things you could actually be volunteering in. I'll give you an example here. I have people in my comms unit that are from, they come in every Thursday night and we're doing comms training, all right?
Okay.
But there are volunteers in my comms unit I have never seen because they provide technical knowledge to us. So we're associated with the Newport County Radio Club and Aries, the emergency response team, and the guys up at the Rhode Island EMA. And if we have an issue and we're trying to deal something with comms and stuff, we get on the phone and these people are volunteering hours over the phone. So a volunteer can be somebody, if you're mobile or something, or you don't want to go out, you just want to do the planning piece, but you don't have to respond, and you have something to contribute, we have a volunteer vector for you to actually help your community.
Are we operating with up-to-date equipment? I mean, are we state-of-the-art? No.
Oh, it's constantly. That's our biggest. That's one of our biggest challenges. In fact, it was kind of. Peter Gaynor was the director of Rhode Island EMA. Here's how I approach it as a thing. I want a good organization system and know how information is going to flow, and then use all available technology. Okay. I want an emergency management system that can work without technology, but then use all available technology. And Peter Gaynor, who's director of EMA, Rhode Island EMA, and he then went to FEMA. He's now the head of the, assistant director of FEMA. He came back and talked to us, and he kind of echoed my philosophy. He says, I wish I didn't spend so much time on technology. We need it, but I wish I'd spent more time on actually training people to understand how information needs to flow, how we make decisions at the different levels of government within our community. What's the town council? What type of decisions should they be making? What should I be making in the command post? What should the guys out in the field be making? How do I get the data? A lot of it is the social media type stuff, but it's my damage assessment team. How do I get that assessment to get that picture of what's actually happened so then I can order resources and stuff? That requires teamwork, and my volunteers will actually, I've set it up so that they can actually be a part of that. And we have a lot of talented people. People want to volunteer. They really do. You saw we had our resiliency workshop over the summer. We were only supposed to bring somebody. It was packed. We had to turn people away because people wanted to come volunteer a full day just to talk about resiliency in Portsmouth. And there were people chomping up at the bit, I think, to volunteer at all different capacities and capabilities and time commitments. If you only do 1 hour a month, you can do something for us. If you want to come every week and spend some hours with us, we got something for you. You know, you got to think about it. It's like running a hotel. It's like running a whole community. Okay. Yeah, I need finance people. I need people who can, you know, got IT capability, want to run specific emergency response programs like HERVAC or stuff like that. So there's just so much to do in a disaster, and there's an opportunity for somebody. So like I said, we're actually kicking off a key part of training. If you want to be part of our incident management team, we're going to be having training, and this is a huge commitment, I realize that, but I got to bring you up to speed on the systems so you'll know how to work within that system, and that's going to take place Friday evening, November 15th, and then all day Saturday, November 16th.
Well, besides this program, which obviously is designed to get information out, how else are you going to get the information out about that meeting? Put it in the paper here?
Yeah, we absolutely are.
Well, the meeting on the 15th, which is terribly important, I guess, to you, we talked about the publicity besides this show to get it into the Portsmouth Times and maybe even to the Newport Daily News. Have you spoken to Tim McGraw at Portsmouth Times about the enthusiasm that you're bringing to this development of our new emergency structure, people structure? Are they excited about this as much as you are, obviously?
He was at the meeting he was at the town council meeting when we passed the motion to actually kind of go down this way. Mm-hmm. He did one article on something, I forgot what it was very, very positive. But no, I have not talked to him directly and done that.
I'd love to see that your obvious enthusiasm for this project to get a whole bunch of people equally as enthused. And one of the ways to do that is with the media, the social media, and the papers.
Yeah. I just like the big thing, you know, volunteers, they need specific things, and the best way to do is, I give you two things here. One, go to our fair at Gaudet School on Saturday, November 9th. It's from 9 a.m. to noon. You just come in, you come in when you want during that time, and you leave when you want. There'll be all these tables set up for all different volunteer opportunities. Portsmouth will have a big presence there along with Middletown Red Cross and so on. But we'll answer as many questions as we can. The other thing too is just call me. Give me a call anytime if you're a volunteer. We do have an application form, and I'll talk to you specifically on, you know, where you want to go, what you want to bring to the fight, and I'll show you what we have available, and you can decide, hey, what fits for you if anything fits. So give me a call. My number is 401-477-2172, and you know, I'm used to getting calls 24/7. So
that's a cell phone, right?
Yeah, that's a cell phone. Okay. So welcome your call.
Yeah, I wish I could stop the robocalls coming into my cell phone.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for being with us, and
thank
that
you
was very, very informative. And thank you all for watching. Well, folks, Portsmouth needs your help today. We have a professional firm conducting a community survey, and you all are encouraged to participate. I may be a little stronger than that. You really should. Now, to complete this survey, you can go to portsmouthri.questionpro.com, or you fill out one and send it in. You can find the forms at the Town Hall, Clements Marketplace, the Senior Center, and the library. You can drop the completed surveys off there or mail them into the Town Hall. Survey must be completed by November 15th, so there is an urgency to it.
Hi, I'm Lisa Coble from Newport Hospital Volunteer Services. We're always looking for great people to join our volunteer team, so contact us soon and learn about the exciting opportunities for you as a volunteer at Newport Hospital.